We've had a terrible accident here. Henry just got taken by a crocodile.
Oh, damn it. Oh, Henry.
Crocodile. Crocodile. Crocodile.
I needed to walk through a minefield to feel protected. These words, written by Hendrik Coetzee, offer a bit of insight into how he ended up at the center of a tragedy on one of the most dangerous rivers in the world. The Lukuga River in the Congo is an untamed, wild place. Man-eating crocodiles lurk beneath the depths of the murky water, hostile hippos charge boats, and help, if the unthinkable happens, is hundreds of miles away. But some people are driven towards danger and exploration, and for Hendrik, close calls with death seems to be the only way that he ever felt alive. Born in the small village of Ottesdale in South Africa, Hendrik, who went by Henry, had an early life rife with conflict. His father fought in the South African border wars. Many nights, Hendrik was forced to hide under his bed as artillery rocked the house that his family was stationed in. Perhaps this early exposure to risk is what made his path more daring than most. As soon as he was grown, he took to exploring Africa and developed a fierce love of kayaking the largely unexplored rivers of the central rainforests. He went on to build a name for himself as one of the most experienced whitewater experts in the remote, untouched parts of Africa, and even led historic trips along the Nile with ease.
I would put Hendry up there not only with the greatest kayakers of all time, but the greatest explorers of all time, people that you only read about in books.
But by late 2009, his daring exploits were starting to slow down due to a budding relationship that forced him to reflect on his mental health. Based on emails to his friends and partner, it seems that he came to realize that he craved these death-defying adventures because undertaking them was the only time that he felt sane. In between expeditions, he was tormented by periods of depression where he felt like his life seemed like a compromise not worth making. In one email to his lover, he wrote, "I would be lying if I said I have never thought of taking my own life. I do not fear death. I don't think I'll ever take my life in any conventional way. Going on an expedition never to come back is, however, another matter." The allure of going on one of those expeditions and never returning began to dissipate in 2010. Hendry had his mind set on opening a tubing business and growing old somewhere peaceful with his partner by his side. Then in July, he received an email. The subject line read, "Congo 2. The email was from Ben Stookesberry, a 32-year-old American kayaker who wanted to embark on an unheard-of journey through largely unexplored tributaries of the Congo River. Joined by fellow kayaker Chris Korbulic, their goal was to document undeveloped communities and unmapped whitewater areas. But to do that, they needed Hendry's expertise. At first, Hendry declined, but it wasn't long into a conversation where he was helping the pair plan out their trip that his intense desire to go on one last expedition would arise, a feeling that he could not ignore. So he signed on, and the three decided to embark on the adventure of a lifetime.
To the best trip ever, Jamie.
Of course, it wasn't just excitement they were feeling.
So this is the start of the supermarket. It's very narrow, the water's flowing slowly, lots of rocks for crocs to bake on. I don't think I've ever gone through here without a charge.
So the supermarket is where the crocs hang out in order to feed. You're the food in their supermarket.
The dangers weren't lost on the trio.
Nile crocodiles are huge. They can be up to 20 feet long, and they'll hunt you.
There was a lot of talk about risk, from having clean water all the way to dangerous wildlife in the river.
Saying the wildlife in this region's rivers is dangerous is an understatement. It's estimated that crocodiles kill somewhere between 300 to 1,000 people in Africa each year. Though of course, due to unreliable census numbers, and not to mention the sheer amount of rural villages, it's likely that that number is even higher. These prehistoric ambush predators often lurk in calm, still water, waiting for the right moment to strike. Because they can be up to 20 feet long, they can take down prey as large as buffalo with ease. They're made of pure muscle, allowing them to shoot themselves out of the water up to the full length of their body. As you can imagine, this makes kayaking only a few inches above the water a huge hazard. However, that didn't deter Hendrik, Chris, or Ben, who felt equipped for the expedition.
When Ben was given the rare chance to go, he prepared for the worst case scenarios. But how do you prepare yourself for the loss of a close friend?
Be coming down, just going across there.
Well, the thing is, nobody's told us that we can't do it.
With Hendrik as their guide, the trio began their 2-month-long expedition. Their starting point was Uganda, where they'd paddle through the White Nile in Murchison Falls National Park. Then, their journey would take them to a more turbulent region along the Ruzizi River, which marks the border between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, where decades of bloody battles have only added to the danger of a region that's also full of apex predators. Eventually, they'd end up in the Lukuga River, where they'd press on for another 700 miles before reaching the end of their journey. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned for the trio. It was in Murchison Falls that the group was particularly careful due to it having the reputation of harboring especially volatile crocodiles.
We were much more likely to see a crocodile in a very, very flat river with no current.
Most rivers, when you get to a calm section, you can rest a little bit. But on Murch, that calm, flat water is definitely more terrifying than any of the whitewater.
Little did they know that it was the Lukuga River where the real danger awaited them. After over a decade of war along the river, the crocodiles within it had developed a predilection for human flesh. Of the 5.4 million people killed in the war, countless thousands were dumped in the water, making us a natural, common food source for crocodiles beneath the surface. But when they entered the Lukuga River on December 5th, they were greeted with signs that things were much more dangerous than they had previously thought. When the trio spoke to villagers in Niemba, asking what the humanitarian organization or the International Rescue Committee could help them with, they had 3 answers. First, they needed clean water. The second is that they needed educational access. And lastly, they needed help with the crocodiles. A local disclosed that over the past 20 years, he knew of 125 different people who had been snatched by crocodiles when they were doing things as simple as fetching water. The trio logged the information and carried on with Hendrik reiterating their protocol, reminding Ben and Chris that they needed to stick together, pay close attention to the banks, and above all, absolutely not panic. Even with this news and all the warnings, the trio continued on in high spirits.
It's gorgeous out right now. Jeez.
Doesn't adjust.
Everything's gone great. Had a beautiful time. I think everyone's super stoked we took the chance, but hopefully we walk away from this with just good memories. And remember kids, don't cross international borders at home.
But on December 7th, everything changed. Rain fell over the group as they paddled down the Lukuga. After seeing several crocodiles slip into the water, the kayakers clustered together in a narrow channel approximately 200 feet wide. They were paddling so close together that they had to alternate their strokes so they wouldn't accidentally hit their paddles or each other. And yet, that didn't deter the crocodile. Out of the corner of his eye, Chris saw a flicker of motion and heard 3 words from Hendrik. "Oh my God." A direct quote from Hendrik, which Chris has stated wasn't a scream nor a desperate cry. It was in a way a weird statement of fact. When he turned fully, Chris would see a massive crocodile latch on to Hendrik, the biggest that the 3 men had seen the entire journey. The moment he caught a glimpse of the sheer size of the croc, Chris would lose all hope that his friend would survive.
God damn it. Oh. Damn it. Oh, Henry. Fuck.
We've had a terrible accident here. Hendrik just got taken by a crocodile. The crocodile took him right out of his boat.
Hey, no, wait. Just wait. No.
I saw this whole thing happen. You saw it come out of the water. It was big.
I mean, his head was half the size of that kayak.
It was massive.
We got him by the shoulder.
Yeah, it was just like, it was right up there.
Watching Hendry's boat float down without him in it was the first time I had ever felt loss.
Inside the kayak, absolutely nothing was disturbed. All of Hendry's belongings were exactly as he had left them, and according to Ben, it was as if he had been plucked from the kayak by the hand of God. Yet, deep down, both Ben and Chris could only imagine the horror of what their friend had endured.
Crocodiles have got the strongest jaw muscles of any animal that we know for their size. They've got about 66, sometimes 68 teeth in their jaws. They'll puncture through flesh, they'll go through shell, and they'll even go into bone.
Crocodiles kill their prey by dragging them down into the water and holding them there with their massively powerful jaws until they drown. It's likely that here, in the Congo basin that he loves so dearly, that's exactly what happened to Hendry. Either as quickly as a few seconds, or as long as a few minutes, after which he was pulled into the water, he died. A stunned Ben and Chris would then race to the nearby village of Kabeya for help, only to find the villagers unwilling to help the strange men who emerged screaming out of the forest. After realizing that they had in fact lost someone to a crocodile attack, the villagers went out of their way to help. The two kayakers requested a boat to search for Hendry and at least recover his body, but they were met with a shocking revelation. Because Kabeya had lost so many people to the crocodile-infested waters, they in fact stopped traveling on it altogether. To them, the river was nothing more than a death trap. Mourning and at a loss for words, Ben and Chris called for help being extracted and temporarily put their expedition on hold. Hendry's lover, Juliana Burring, was tragically due to fly into Uganda with no return ticket and begin a life with him on New Year's. Needless to say, the loss of her future with him was absolutely crushing. In the wake of his death, Juliana, Ben, and Chris gathered to celebrate his life by lighting a funeral pyre in his honor.
Hendrik Coetzee was such a special individual and had so much to teach, both Chris and I along the way. And Chris and I learned so much from him.
Ben and Chris went on to finish the documentary film that they started with Hendry.
At the end of the day, what we did bring back and this film that Ben put together is just this perfect tribute. And it tells a lot of Hendry's story and shows that he was this amazing person.
Juliana went on to channel her grief into an impressive feat, circumnavigating the world solo on her bike in just 152 days. A peek at Hendry's journals, which have since been adapted into a book, suggests that this is exactly what he would want. I need to believe that there is magic out there. I cannot believe these things blindly though, and maybe that's why I have to do this mission, to prove to myself that we can do things which are bigger than ourselves. If you found this episode interesting, then our previous episode featuring the most brutal bear attack in Yellowstone history is likely to do the same. You can find it at the end screen of this video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. This is Animal Al. Be safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.